What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Check the Kick. I'm the host. Devin Sherdog.com is the website, and we are back off of a pretty lackluster weekend of combat sports in the MMA world. Couple pretty good boxing matches. We're going to talk about that. Hope you guys all had a great week. We got a big pay-per-view coming up this week out in Las Vegas. That's headlined by Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev. First fight we're going to talk about, out with the old. We're actually going to talk about boxing first today. We're going to talk about Tank Davis taking on Lamont Roach, and this fight ended as a majority draw. One of the judges gave it to Tank Davis, Gervonta Davis. The other two scored it a draw. Man, oh man, fucking boxing is just full of controversy. With MMA, we'll come on here and complain. We'll bitch and moan, for lack of better terms, with some of these results that we see from MMA fights. The Kape and the Asu Almabayev fight, kind of controversial in my opinion. And then the week before that, we had Henry Cejudo and Song Yadong with another very controversial issue. But in MMA, typically, I would say probably like 90% of the time, the right person wins the fight and we get it right, Boxing, on the other hand, it's so convoluted and there's so much room for error and so much room for just potential fixes and just like straight up bullshit. The story of this fight, Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis, they're both dudes that are, they grew up like 20 miles away from each other. Some DC dude and Baltimore dude, right in the same areas. And they had a, history in the amateurs where I believe they fought twice and Tank won both times in the amateurs. Lamont Roach was coming up a weight class. He's a belt holder in the weight class below, but he was coming up a weight class to fight Tank Davis. This fight was a very typical Tank Davis fight, like without the knockout, where it was real slow through like the first five, and then Tank will try to make his reads and turn it on and get a late knockout in the fight, like he typically tries to always do. I scored like the first 4 rounds of this fight for I scored 8 rounds of this fight for Lamont Roach. I don't even think this fight was close. And we'll get to the really bad knockdown call. Was it the 8th round or the 9th round, I believe, where Lamont Roach jabbed Tank in the eye, and then Tank literally turns away and takes a knee. Ref doesn't. This is all fucking. This is stuff that you take to the athletic commission in New York and you say, hey, this isn't right. This referee needs to be investigated. That was really terrible. And I know the referee, I can't recall his name, but he's known for his big crazy reactions during the fights. Well, I don't know what he was thinking. Tank takes a knee, and then once he realizes, I'm taking a knee for the first time in my career, he runs over to the corner and gets like a towel or something, wipes his face, and then the ref just lets this continue. Where's Jason Herzog when you need him, I guess, because I feel like someone like him would have done the right thing in a situation like this. However, boxing, MMA, two different things, two different, different refs, all the things. But even regardless of the knockdown, which should have been scored at 10-8, which should have had Lamont winning the fight because 2 of the judges scored at 115. But I'm just not sure where okay, so when I'm watching a fight, especially a boxing match that's 12 rounds long, I just want to start with this. We need to make boxing matches either 11 rounds or 13 rounds. We're leaving the door open for way too much draws, way too much bullshit. I know in boxing, draws can really, in a way, draws can be good for fighters' careers if they have like a rivalry, where this fight has the ability to get ran back. Tank is never going to fight Lamont Roach again. That's never going to happen again, even though he was in the ring after the fight saying, I'd love to do a rematch. Go watch this fight. Come back, watch the end of this fight. Look how Tank was acting in the ring. Look how Lamont was acting in the ring after. We all know who won this fight. Again, when you're watching a boxing match or a fight And I would say if half of the fight is really clear on who won, and then the other half is just like, I don't know, 50-50, like obviously you should just give it to the dude that clearly won half of the fight if the other half was just like dead even. And that's kind of how this fight was. There were really like no super clear rounds for Tank, in my opinion, but there was like 4 clear rounds for Lamont Roach. It was really interesting because Lamont Roach just fought a Tank Davis fight better than Tank. Like he kind of fought like how Tank normally fights. He was the craftier pocket puncher. He was the craftier combination thrower. He was the one hurting Tank with the pull counters. He would engage the, they would get head to head and they were really fighting right in the pocket. Really fucking brave performance from Lamont Roach, knowing number one that they had fought in the amateurs and he had lost to Tank twice before. Also to knowing who Tank is with his punching power and his crafty ability to set up counter punches. But Lamont was never hurt in this fight. He was never caused to reset. He hurt Tank like 3 or 4 times in this fight, wobbling him in the 8th and 9th rounds, causing him to take the knee. Just really like, you can go to my Twitter, Dev Goes Fishing. There's my handle there. You can hit me up on Twitter and see how I felt about this. But I tweeted out like right at the beginning of the 12th round, like, Lamont should already be up on the scorecards and should win this fight, basically, but he's going to get shafted in just typical boxing fashion because Tank can't lose his O. They need him to fight Shakur Stevenson, and those guys. But yeah, even talking about it now, like days later, I'm recording this on Monday, March 3rd, and I like feel gross. I feel kind of gross, just like poor Lamont Roach. He was a big dog coming in here and he got fucked over. Like he got screwed here. I was really impressed with his ability to. Tank did land a lot of body shots, but like what body shots are great when they do damage and they slow the fighter down. You hurt someone with a liver shot or you're really punching them to the body to slow them down and impact their cardio negatively. But that shit just didn't happen in this fight. Lamont Roach took everything, fired back. He was the one, he was using guard manipulations, hitting Tank with good uppercuts, big hooks around Tank's high guard. He would rip to the body, wait for Tank to fire back, and then counter Tank's counter, hurting Tank several times again. This is a really impressive performance by Lamont Roach. He is the winner of this fight. Tank knows it. Tank was saying after the fight that he had got his hair done a couple days ago and he had hair grease in his eye. If you're listening to this on audio only, I'm making a very interesting face. Just I found it to be gross. I really, really found it to be kind of gross. Tank is a guy that I obviously understand Tank's greatness, but like I am more of an MMA fan than a boxing fan, but I do watch a lot of boxing as well, especially big fights like this, fights that matter. But someone with Tank's abilities, I just have never loved his game plans and his approach to fights where he's making these reads on overmatched opponents and then, knocking them dead or hurting them really badly. But like, you go look at the Pitbull Cruz fight. Pitbull lost a fight and kind of got outclassed after that against a relative, no name dude he was a big favorite against. So these guys that are not getting put out by Tank and are willing to just say, hey, you know what, let's stay in the pocket and see what happens, man. We can go tit for tat here. I'm cool with that. Those fighters are having a lot of have had success against Tank. I don't know where his head is at. Tank's head is at, going into this fight. He said he's got 2 or 3 fights left. With a performance like this, I would definitely say he's probably, with a performance like this one, he's probably closer to on his way out than on his way in. In my opinion, this was a gift for Tank. This draw was literally a gift. I don't understand how anyone could give. What are the clear rounds for Tank? Number 4? I watched this fight twice and I can't find any super clear rounds. It also doesn't help Lamont. Tank is just such a big star too, where you know, it doesn't help Lamont in a situation where like he's ripping 3 punch combinations and no one does anything, and then Tank rips one combination back to the body and it like gets deflected off Lamont's elbow and the crowd is going crazy. Like that type of stuff doesn't help Lamont at all either. But man, I guess the blueprint is there for Tank because Pitbull kind of had a similar approach. But like if you can hang in the pocket with him and be equally crafty, if not a little bit more, and just be willing to be brave and punch with him, like he also leaves openings. He's not perfect. Lamont Roach won this fight. There's really no way. I mean, without the knockdown, like I know with the knockdown, like technically that should have been called the knockdown. And with that knockdown, he would have won this fight on the cards. But Lamont Roach won this fight, guys. Like, just go watch the fight back. You can pause this, go spend, the 3-minute rounds, go spend 35 minutes, whatever, watching this fight. Come back, reach out to me on socials, drop it in the comments. Tell me if you really think Tank Davis won this fight and tell me the rounds he won. I'm willing to eat crow and be proven wrong here, but I'll die on the hill that Tank Davis lost that fight. Shout out to Lamont Roach. He fucking took it on the chin too. He was like, look, man, I know I'm good. We know what happened. And I'll come back. And he's still a champion in the weight class below. And in my opinion, again, he handed Tank Davis his first loss. Moving on to the UFC, it was an okay card. We had a lot of weird fights on there. The Cody Brundage and Julian Marquez fight, co-main. You know what? There was just a lot of bad officiating this weekend. The Cody Brundage, Mark Smith thing where like Julian Marquez is like this close to the finish, and then they both lose their mouthpiece, and then Mark Smith stops the action like in the middle of a barrage to have them reset, and then Cody Brundage hurts Julian Marquez. Nasrat Haqparast and Esteban Ribovics had a good fight. Haider Emil, I'm not going to talk about this fight really, but like shout out to Haider Emil. He forced William Gomes to have a good fight. Sam Patterson, like the most punchable dude in the UFC, crushed Danny Barlow in a really cool fight. And then Mario the Bean Pinto said "Bing Bang Bosh" about 10 times after he absolutely crushed the Jacksonville Jag Austin Lane. You know it's bad when John Anik is talking about your all of your MMA accolades, but all of your MMA accolades are just your NFL accolades. Also, too, you guys, I kind of feel like I conjured something up here this weekend where I was thinking about this. A lot of these NFL dudes that come over to the UFC or into MMA in general, they seem to be incredible hammers, but when they got to be the nail, they just seem to not be able to take damage well. And I played football, up until I was in high school, all my life as a kid, like Pop Warner, pad football, full contact shit. And I got my head rattled a ton. I think being a football player, because those dudes, Austin Lane did not just become a football player in high school. The dude's probably playing football his whole life. They take a lot of head trauma, and I don't think that goes very well with being punched in the head, especially once you're in your 30s. Only fight we're going to really talk about from this past weekend's card, we're going to talk about Manel Kape versus Asu Almabayev. This is a really weird fight. I picked Asu Almabayev going into this. And he just seems like scared of Manel Kape. When he didn't wrestle at all up until like the second round, but like the moment he started shooting takedowns, it was so obvious. And I don't understand why his corner wasn't telling him this, but it was blatantly obvious to me that every time Asu Almabayev even attempted a takedown and failed on it, if Manel Kape stuffed that takedown, it completely stopped Manel Kape's forward pressure. Like, he would defend the takedown and then take the center and then be willing to take the back foot. Also, Almabayev should have just been spamming takedowns here. Should have been spamming them mad, even if only, you know, pull a spaghetti tactic, bro. Throw it at the wall. Something's going to fucking stick. That's how he would have had to beat Manel Kape. And if Manel Kape does get matched up against someone like Pantoja, Pantoja's going to look at that and go, oh, all I have to do is just mix in my striking and my grappling. Like, also Almabayev did land some overhands and stuff on Manel Kape, but Manel Kape's confidence, his posturing, his front foot fighting, his eye pokes, they all forced Asal Almabayev on the back foot. Also got poked like 4 times in the eyes in this fight. One of them was a double eye poke, raked across the eyes. Fucking Mike Beltran, you know, he looks cool with his really long mustache, but like, I don't know if that dude's a great officiator. I thought he was better before, but lately he's just like the school principal where he, you know, he's like, I'll let these kids fight, but they got to shake hands after. The fucking cage side official that plays the replay for Mike Beltran shows him the wrong clip and misses the eye pokes and eye rakes completely. It's like, clean fight. And like, dude, I do think the stoppage was a good stoppage. If you're completely turning your back and running from your opponent, you don't want to be in a fight anymore, and that's not intelligent defense. You know, it's if I go to knuckle up with some dude and he pulls out a gun, I'm going to turn around and run away. And that's what it looked like it happened with Asu. Really poor game plan from Asu Almabayev here. Really, really bad fight. He took it on short notice. He was supposed to fight Steve Erceg. Kape's forward pressure, his confidence, his punching combinations. He's very tricky where he'll feint, throw a jump knee, feint, you know, push forward, throw a big punching combination, feint, you know, kick to the body. He's very good at like mixing up his target, mixing up the tempo. He'll feint once and then, you know, hop into the pocket and close the distance. Boom, really quickly. Also, too, like, what a great time to shoot a reactive takedown from Asu Almabayev. Like, let him, you know, just don't bite on the feints. And I know that's it. Just don't bite on the feints when you have a world-class athlete like Manel Kape. Yeah, I'll be a fucking armchair quarterback at home. I know. But if you got a dude that's like going from kicking range to clinch range with these, you know, high amplitude strikes, like, that's a good time for you to be trying to time your takedowns. It's not easy to shoot a takedown off the back foot, but like, it's also better than just like backing straight up to the cage and getting punched and poked in the eyes. There's a bunch of people that I've heard over the weekend, like listening to some podcasts, and they're like, Manel Kape looked great here. He's, you know, they should take the Kai Kara-France fight and throw it away. And I'm like, I learned nothing new about Manel Kape personally. I just was re-solidified the fact that he is probably one of the better athletes in the division and still seems to be kind of a dirty fighter. Don't pull Kai Kara-France off of the Pantoja fight, because Pantoja needs contenders, and Pantoja's beat both of these guys. He beat one of them on the Ultimate Fighter, which is not even really considered like a pro bout, and he beat one of these guys in an actual pro bout in the UFC. And we want to give the dude. I just don't understand how, if you look at Kai Kara-France's resume and look at Manel Kape's resume, like, go to Sherdog.com, go look at their history. I actually paused the recording and I went to Sherdog.com because I'm going to just read you guys some of their more recent fights. Okay, so Manel Kape, he's got 21 wins and 7 losses. And Kai Kara-France has 25 wins and 11 losses. So in the UFC, Kai Kara-France has defeated Elias Garcia, nobody. Raulian Paiva, Mark De La Rosa. He lost to Brandon Moreno via unanimous decision. He beat Tyson Nam, pretty good win. Got choked out by Brandon Royval, beat Rogerio Bontorin, beat Cody Garbrandt, beat Askar Askarov, and also beat Steve Erceg, knocked Steve Erceg out dead in his last fight. Manel Kape has beat Asu Almabayev, TKO retirement because he ran. Bruno Silva, great win. Felipe Dos Santos, that was a short notice opponent. David Dvorak, Zalga Zumagulov, and Ode Osborne. You can't tell me that Manel Kape's resume is any better than Kai Kara-France's. It's just not. Like, there's no... You can have your own opinion, but this is mine. I just, let Pantoja fight Kai Kara-France. He'll probably beat him, and then let him fight Manel Kape after, or let him go fight Merab. I just don't... Manel Kape has had weight cut issues. He's... Steve Erceg is a title challenger. Asu Almabayev is like ranked number 8. Bruno Silva ranked even lower. It's Kai Kara-France for me. Manel Kape needs another win. He can fight the returning Brandon Royval. He can fight the winner of the UFC Mexico card, where it is Brandon Moreno. And oh my gosh, who is he fighting? Erceg. Duh. He can fight the winner of... Manel Kape can fight the winner of that in a title eliminator. But I just don't think I don't think he deserves to jump KKF in the Pantoja sweepstakes. That is going to wrap up the first segment of the show, Out with the Old. We're going to jump over what's hot, because there's not a ton of crazy stuff besides Dana's insane fight announcements last week that I already kind of touched on. We're going to jump straight into UFC 313. It's headlined by Alex Pereira fighting Magomed Ankalaev. Kind of a fight that we've all been waiting for. Seriously, I'm going to drink a little bit of coffee. Thank you for being patient. Let's talk about 3 fights on here. I do like the Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes fight, but I'm actually going to talk about a different fight. I'm going to talk about 3 of them. First fight we're going to talk about Bobby King Green versus Mauricio Ruffy, a true like OG versus young up and comer type fight. This should be a really, really good fight, and I do like Jalen Turner at Ignacio Bahamondes, and that should be a fucking barn burner. That thing should go off like a pack of firecrackers, but so should this one. And I really like watching Bobby Green fight, and I don't know how much more we have of him, so I'm going to talk about that one. Let me give you guys the odds. Odds on this fight. Mauricio Ruffy is a huge fucking favorite. He's like minus 520 at some places. I'm looking at him minus 460 here. Bobby Green is coming back at about plus 360, plus 375. Crazy odds. Kind of insane. We know that Bobby Green is coming off of a pretty bad loss to Paddy Pimblett, where he kind of like walked face first into that triangle. Before that, he pieced up and beat up Jim Miller real bad at UFC 300. The fight prior to that, he got really viciously knocked the F out by Jalen Turner. Before that, he knocked out Grant Dawson, handing him his first loss in a really impressive performance. Did beat Tony Ferguson, had that no contest with Jared Gordon. He got knocked out by Drew Dober, but did kind of well in that fight, and did also lose to Islam Makhachev. This dude's fought everybody. I mean, he's beaten Nasrat Haqparast. He knocked out Ayala Quinta in one of his most impressive performances. I was way back in 2021. In my opinion, he beat Rafael Fiziev, who's coming up in the co-main event that we're going to talk about. Also, he beat, in my opinion, like he had a real close fight with Thiago Moises. The dude's fought everybody, and I'm not going to sit here and read through Bobby Green's, record. The dude's got over 40 pro fights, like encroaching on 50 pro fights. He's got 32 wins and 16 losses, 1 draw, 1 no contest. Like, yeah, the dude's a real OG of the game. Mauricio Ruffy is not an OG of the game. He's only 28 years old. Fighting Nerds dude, probably the most unproven fighting nerd that's a male fighter in the UFC, but that could totally change, just with good fortune and time. He's got an 11-1 record. His last time out against James Lontop, who's no longer with the UFC. Shout out to Peru, but unfortunately we lost Lontop. One of the dopest face tats. Got the Uzi tatted on his face. I think that's cool. Would I get a Uzi tatted on my face? Fuck no. However, I do have one tattoo, and it does involve a firearm, and it's maybe more than one firearm. And if you know me, you'll laugh at this. And if you want to know what it is, hit me up and I'll tell you. He debuted in the UFC in 2024 where he knocked out Jamie Mullarkey, and then last time out he won a decision against James Lontop in a fight where James Lontop really showed his durability and his toughness. And he had a little bit of success against Hoofy, but Hoofy kind of just, styled on him. Besides the one James Lontop fight that went to decision, all of his fights have ended in finish. All of them ended in TKO or knockout. He's been knocked out once. That was back in 2019. All of his other fights have all ended by him with finish. He's an incredible finisher, an incredible athlete. He's big for the division. Him and Javid Basharat are two guys that come to the top of my head where they're like, they learned their fighting style off of 145-pound streaking Conor McGregor, like when Conor McGregor was like murking dudes back in like 2016, 2017, whatever. Whenever that, I've been watching MMA since 2004. So it all becomes blended. Anyway, this is a really interesting fight because Hoofy is a crafty dude. He's a crafty puncher, crafty southpaw. He's got a really good left hand. He's got good power. And Bobby Green is getting older. Bobby Green is a very reactive dude that will fight with his hands down. He himself is crafty in the pocket. He's not as big of a power puncher as Hoofy, but he's probably the more crafty boxer all around. And he's definitely just got way more veteran savvy. Once Bobby Green gets rolling on an opponent, that's where shit can start going downhill. And once he makes his reads, like third round, Bobby Green can be a fucking menace. But he's also hittable and he can be hurt. Like even in the win against Jim Miller, like Jim Miller had success and kind of, didn't hurt or stagger Bobby, but landed on him and caused him to reset several times. I mean, look what Jalen Turner did to him. The odds in this fight, in my opinion, are just way off. Like Hoofy is great. He comes out of Fighting Nerds, and these are all reasons why this is juiced to the gills, in my opinion. Like you got dudes like Gene Silva that are out there fucking murking fools. You got dudes like Kyle Ohio that are also out there murking fools. You got dudes like Carlos Pratis that are out there murking fools. And Mauricio Hoofy, like prior to his last fight, has also been murking fools. I don't know if Bobby Green is gonna be the dude that stands up to the punching of Mauricio Hoofy, especially this late into his career. But and Lontop is a dude that is very durable, and he's probably a little more durable than Bobby, but like Bobby's way more crafty. He's got good head movement. He himself is a good counter puncher. He'll kind of just square up in the pocket and make his reads. And the second, you overswing on something, he's quick to fire back. Hoofy is not an incredible combination puncher. He's much more of a 1-2 guy and much more of an angles guy, and he really likes to set up his power hand. It's going to be a dumb pick for me, but I'm going to go with a flyer and pick Bobby Green here. Maybe I'm just trying to will some shit into existence, but like Bobby Green is also way less hittable than James Lontop, and he's way better than Jamie Mullarkey. And he's also better offensively than those two dudes. I just think with these betting odds, like you'd be smart to just like sprinkle a tiny little bit of something on like Bobby Green by decision or something. Like Hoofy shouldn't be a 5-1 favorite over Bobby Green, even though Bobby Green is coming off some losses, got some bad stuff going on. If you go look at his go to Sherdog.com again and go look at his record, it's definitely spotty with red and green, but he's fought the way better dudes. He's way more. I don't know if he's better schooled because Fight Nerds is an incredible team, but he's just got the tenure. He's got the OG savviness. He himself is a crafty boxer, and Hoofy may try to mix in some takedowns. We know that the Fighting Nerds team does, they do come very well prepared, but if this is just going to be like a boxing match, Bobby Green's going to beat a lot of dudes in boxing matches. Give me Bobby Green as a big underdog here. Moving on to the co-main event, we have Justin Gaethje taking on a short notice replacement in Rafael Fiziev. This is going to be a rematch to a really close fight they had a couple years back, where Justin Gaethje kind of squeaked out a unanimous decision. Was it a unanimous? Let me check. Either way, squeaked out a decision over Rafael Fiziev, and that was a majority decision. Very, very close fight. Rafael Fiziev is coming off of a real long layoff. In his last bout, he lost to Gamrot, where it was a really close fight, up through the first round into the second, where he hurt his knee. Prior to that, he did lose to Justin Gaethje. He has not fought since September of 2023. Now he's going to be fighting in March of 2025. Supposedly, he's been ready for a fight. He's had fight offers out there, but he just nobody would agree to fight him. Let me give you the odds on this fight really quickly. Rafael Fiziev is a slight favorite, coming back at minus 140. Justin Gaethje is about a plus 120 dog here. I'm kind of surprised about the odds. Really quickly, before we talk about this fight, the UFC released some unshown footage of the Max Holloway knocking him out, and boy, that looked violent. He was just completely out in a pool of his own blood. He looked like dead. It was kind of really scary. Pretty freaking frightening, honestly. And Max Holloway is coming off of that UFC 300 fight from about a year ago in April 2024, where he had a not really close fight against Max, where Max knocked him out in literally the final second of the fifth round, but Max had hurt him and just kind of completely outclassed him. In one of many Max Holloway's best performances. Justin Gaethje was preparing for Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker broke his hand 2 weeks ago and had to pull from the fight. This is going to be a big chance for Dan Hooker, and now Dan Hooker's going to be probably rematching Dustin Poirier if he's lucky, or he might be stuck fighting a young up and comer. This was his chance to potentially be in this title eliminator that someone like Dan Hooker is so he's been really fighting for years and years and really trying to have that opportunity. Unfortunately, he broke his hand in training, and he won't get that opportunity against Justin Gaethje. This fight is a rematch, 5 rounds, short notice, which is interesting because it's interesting that Justin Gaethje is a dog here, because Justin Gaethje is the one that won the third round of their fight when Fiziev kind of flagged, and he had a full training camp. Fiziev is a guy, trains out of Thailand, really, kickboxing coach for Tiger Muay Thai coach for Tiger Muay Thai. He's got really good boxing. Go look at his knockout wins over Renato Moicano, Brad Riddell. He's really good striking, and then especially the combination to the body and to the head. He punches the body. He's got really fast hands. He's a little undersized for the division, but he does have good power, and he can crack. And he's just a really fast and technical fluid striker. Great kicks. He typically has good cardio. If you go look at his fight with RDA, late into that fight, he was able to hurt RDA. Justin Gaethje coming back off this knockout loss, first time we've seen him get completely flatlined. He's been finished before, even in the UFC. Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier have both finished him, but patient Gaethje, I don't want to call him a pot shotter, but more calculated, energy saving Gaethje has been a very dangerous opponent. Prior to getting knocked out by Max, he fucking head kicked and finished Dustin Poirier in their rematch for the BMF title. Kind of have an idea of how I see this fight going, and I think someone like Rafael Fiziev can kind of take some of the same tools as Max Holloway in a way, but no one can really be Max Holloway is Max Holloway. The way he kind of darts to an angle and shoots a shot in, and just really a variety of attacks. And he, Max Holloway's power looked really good at 155. His durability as well. Just kind of have a hard time seeing this fight play out, just because that knockout from Holloway, Justin took a year off, but he said if he gets knocked out again, he's done. He's kind of had this weird talk of I don't want to say 1 foot out the door, because if you watch Justin Gaethje fight, he never has a 1 foot out the door style, really, ever. So I am really just curious to see what this fight looks like, especially over the 5 rounds. Like Fiziev, he said, if I'm not ready to fight tomorrow, I'm not a fighter. And I don't know. I really don't know what that means. I don't know if his plan is to go out there and like step on the gas and try to hurt Gaethje and get him out of there, because he is coming off of a bad knockout. Gaethje is a dude that's hittable, and you go look through Justin Gaethje's career, and like he's been hurt. There has not been a fight that Justin Gaethje has not been hurt in. Like, Max Holloway knocked him the F out. Dustin Poirier even, landed a bunch of good shots on him. Fiziev landed good shots on him. Charles Oliveira hit him a lot and hit him very hard. Michael Chandler, Habib, even Tony Ferguson, even he's the one that Justin Gaethje is the one that kind of like changed Tony Ferguson forever, unfortunately. But even Tony Ferguson crushed him with the uppercut like at the end of the 2nd round and almost finished him there. He's taken lots of damage even against Michael Johnson. Fiziev has not taken nearly as much damage in his MMA career. Not to mention, like I saw a clip today of Justin Gaethje's Nick Newell fight in WSOF, World Series of Fighting. Also, go look at the Luis Palomino fights. Like, if you're ever bored, just go watch Justin Gaethje versus Luis Palomino and WSOF. Incredible shit. But yeah, Justin Gaethje's just taken punishment over his career, and that's his thing. James Vick called him the Homer Simpson of fighting. That didn't turn out too well for James Vick. James Vick was also, sidebar, like he was in a medically induced coma after his last karate combat bout where he got like head kicked and killed. James Vick should not be fucking fighting anymore. No athletic commission should allow him. Like, not even, he shouldn't even be able to fight in 3rd world countries. Back to this. Without the short notice is what really throws me off here, and this being a 5-round bout, because Justin Gaethje, he got his nose broken by Max Holloway, and he still, hung tough and fought those 5 rounds very compromised. He took a ton of damage in this Max Holloway fight. Yeah, he got knocked the fuck out in the last 1 second of the fight, but still, I'm going to be way wrong on picks this weekend. It's either going to be like 3-0 or 0-3, but I'm going to take Fiziev here. And it's stupid, but I just think I don't know what Justin Gaethje had a lot of trouble with Rafael Fiziev last time. And since their fight, Fiziev tore up his knee, I think like MCL and PCL damage, if I'm correct, against Gamrot. But like he hasn't taken the same amount of head trauma. He's the faster fighter. He's all around. Fiziev is the better striker. Justin Gaethje is just a little more dogged and did have the more, he got his first takedown and only takedown against Fiziev. Maybe he shoots takedowns. I'm not sure. But it's just that damage accrued from the Max Holloway fight. Like he got fucked up real bad in that fight. Took a ton of damage throughout the fight and was on his way to losing a really clean decision against Max prior to the knockout. But man, I don't know. I think it's just that UFC 300 like leaked clip that the UFC put out. Go find it on Twitter and Instagram, whatever. Like it's real violent. You can reach out to me right here and I'll find it and send it to you. But like, I just can't get that image out of my head. And Fiziev is such a good finisher. And over 5 rounds, like I know Justin Gaethje is preparing for 5 rounds, and maybe he, really attacks the legs of Fiziev and really attacks the body. But I'm going to trust Fiziev's combination boxing. I think he's going to be the one that's a little more crafty in the pocket. Fiziev's going to land 3 and Gaethje's going to land 1 in those exchanges. And if he can check the kicks, force us into boxing range, land his kicks when he wants to, I'm going to lean Fiziev here. I could also see him stopping Gaethje too, maybe, because Gaethje. Once Gaethje hits the damage wall, it's gonna be like a piece of shit card flying down the highway with just parts fucking flying off of it. Gaethje's style will not stand time. Like this is not Gaethje's style. Once he hits that wall, it's gonna blow up and it's gonna be a huge violent explosion. There's just no way you can be a battering ram forever. And I'm gonna lean Fiziev here to kind of, just land the more damage and come back hungry. Alex Pereira taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Let me give you the odds on this fight. This is a dead pick'em. One source has Alex Pereira as a -120 favorite and Ankalaev as a +100 dog. This should be a really good fight, and this is a fight that a lot of people said that Alex Pereira was avoiding. I don't know if Alex Pereira is fucking avoiding anybody. He even came out this week saying that he wants to do like a personal bet against Magomed Ankalaev, $200,000. Winner of their fight will pick a charity and donate 200 grand to. Little does Alex Pereira know that 200 grand is probably Magomed Ankalaev's whole entire fight purse, which is funny. Magomed Ankalaev is taking this fight during Ramadan as well. I don't think that really, ask Bilal Muhammad if that matters. Magomed Ankalaev is coming off of a pretty good win over Alexander Rakic. Before that, he knocked out Johnny Walker. Before that, he had a no contest against Johnny Walker. Prior to that, back in 2022, he had that split draw against Jan Blachowicz for the vacant title. And Dana got so mad that he made Glover Teixeira and Jamal Hill fight for the title. Before that, he did defeat Anthony Smith, defeat Thiago Santos, defeat Volkan Oezdemir, defeated Nikita Krylov. He had that weird Ion Cutelaba first and second fight where Ion Cutelaba, like one of the worst stoppages, I think it was Kevin McDonald, one of the worst stoppages in UFC history, where Ion Cutelaba was like doing like the drunken master pretending to be rocked and shit. It's weird. His UFC debut, he's like beating the crap out of Paul Craig, and then at the 4-minute 59-second mark of round 3, we got 2 guys on this card in the co-main and main event that have both lost fights in the last second of their fight. Got triangled by Paul Craig. Alex Pereira, he's become one of the biggest stars in the UFC. This guy's got all the juice. He's got the stoic look. He's got the knockout power. Politan is just an incredible fighter, an incredible athlete, and one of the better, over time, we'll go back and talk about Alex Pereira as one of the better combat sports athletes, multiple glory kickboxing champion. Kind of came into MMA where he lost his very first fight via rear naked choke back in 2015, and then he, knocked out a couple dudes and went away for 4 years. His knockout against Thomas Powell in LFA, that step back left hook where Thomas Powell was crushing the pocket, one of the most violent knockouts in MMA you will see. But he came into the UFC with 4 fights on his pro record, and he hit Andreas Michailidis with that jump knee. He's the one that ruined Bruno Silva. He knocked out Sean Strickland, former champion, knocked out Israel Adesanya, former champion, beat Jan Blachowicz, former champion, beat Yuri Prochazka, former champion, beat Jamal Hill, former champion. This dude has more fights and wins against former champions than just other random dudes on his record. It's incredible. He's got 12 wins and 2 losses, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those, half of his wins are against former champions or dudes he was taking the belt off of. That's a pretty incredible stat there. 50% of your wins come against champions or former champions. His last time out, he fought Khalil Roundtree. That was at UFC 307. Talk about a guy that's fucking turning and burning too. He's taking his momentum and really, really doing something with it. Kind of incredible. He knocked out Khalil Roundtree in the 4th round, where Khalil Roundtree, he threw a head kick and got dropped by Roundtree. Roundtree is a really tidy striker, a really good Muay Thai specialist, good knees, good kicks himself, really good boxing, good power, good hand speed. And when good Khalil Roundtree shows up, he's a world beater. He gave Alex Pereira one of his hardest fights, especially up at 205. Ankalaev is a guy that and this is a term that's been coined by my fellow Sherdog associate and producer of the Check the Kick show, at least editor Ben Duffy. He says that, and this is something I will always steal from him. He takes some stuff from me, I take some stuff from him, but he says Magomed Ankalaev is the type of dude that will cross the street to go step in dog shit. And that is so true. This dude can't get a clean win to like save his life sometimes. He doesn't have high fight IQ, but he's got all the skills in the world to be a world champion. You know, he's got good grappling, good striking. He's got fast hands. He's got good kicks, good boxing. He's violent. He's a good fucking finisher. If he hurts you and gets you pinned up against the cage, he knows how to finish. But he also knows how to just have weird, stupid blunders. You know, this is a guy that waited. He had to lose 3 rounds to Jan Blachowicz to start wrestling. If he does that against Pereira, he's going to be fucked. Jan Blachowicz crushed him with leg kicks, wasn't checking the kicks, and really gave him tons of trouble. Jan Blachowicz is probably one of the best leg kickers in MMA and leg kick checkers in MMA, and he struggled against Alex Pereira in their fight. Alex Pereira also beat Jan Blachowicz in a very contested, very like weird contested decision where like he might have lost that fight. Both of these guys. Just how good is Jan Blachowicz? I'm not even kidding. Jan Blachowicz is actually one of my favorite fighters. Like, I love his whole story. It's cool. But yeah, it's a real tough fight to call because how will Alex, like when Alex Pereira, his takedown defense is not that great, but he has a pretty good get-up game. He kind of goes for these like weird ghostly guillotines where like they don't really ever work up against the cage, but he's just so tall and so strong. I think it's just like a threat. But when it comes to camps, Magomed Ankalaev has been doing his camps down at Extreme Couture. He's got a lot of sparring rounds in with Sean Strickland. So is Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira was in Strickland's corner last time out. So they have a mutual friend in Sean Strickland. I wonder who Sean Strickland is. I wonder who Sean Strickland is giving advice to. Probably neither. If this is a kickboxing match, it's going to be real hard to pick someone to beat Alex Pereira, even though some dudes have had a lot of success with him kickboxing. I mean, Israel Adesanya knocked him out at 185. He was raining shots on Israel Adesanya and kind of got greedy and got clipped with a big counterpunch. I don't think Magomed Ankalaev is literally smart enough. I mean, I don't want to beat around the bush. I don't think he's smart enough to set something up like that. And I don't think he's a composed enough fighter to allow himself to get rained on like that from a big puncher, like Alex Pereira, to where he can kind of curl up and, hit him with a really clean counterpunch and then finish him. Also, that was at 185 where Alex's durability just isn't the same at 205. 205 his durability is clearly great. Look at all the dudes he's fought. He's taken big shots from a lot of these guys. Even his last time out against Roundtree. He's got good cardio, good fight IQ, really good fight IQ with the kickboxing. I'm going to pick Alex Pereira here. Alex Pereira seems really confident. He's posted some like wonky, funny training videos. I think, he was like in Australia doing like seminars and shit, but he's a dude that like seems to be a student of the game. Like I see just as much, sprawling and grappling footage as I do of him kickboxing. And again, I just don't trust Magomed Ankalaev. He is the dude that crosses the street to go step in dog shit. It is really hard for me to trust someone that fights that way. Does he have the tool? If he goes out there and puts a grinder on Alex Pereira, that's how he beats him. Like he needs to go out there, grind on him, push him against the cage, chain the wrestling, high singles and just trips and just make it nasty and make him grind against the cage. What is one place that we haven't seen Alex at a ton, and we do see him there, people have been able to stall him out like Jan Blachowicz, is with his back against the cage. He's going to be way less dangerous with his back against the cage. I just, first Magomed Ankalaev said I'm going to go out there and strike with him. Then he's saying be prepared to wrestle. When I watch Magomed Ankalaev fight, I'm like, wow, he's got really incredible athleticism. He's got good power, good boxing, good kicks. But he's just like not mixing the martial arts. He's not using his tools to the best of his ability. Alex Pereira, on the other hand, he's using his tools. Like whatever he's good at, he really knows how to, amplify that and really just like, Alex Pereira takes his best tool and shows up with it and uses it to the best of his abilities every time. And I just can't count on Ankalaev to do that. Give me Alex Pereira to win via third round knockout. I think he's going to clip him with something, maybe not a left hook because Ankalaev is a southpaw, maybe like a straight right and then set up, like a head kick or like a jumping switch knee because he is just the way I see this fight is Ankalaev going out there and like getting a takedown in the first round, surviving, and then like getting cocky and trying to strike with Alex in the second, and then like getting knocked out in the third for trying the same thing. And I don't know if Ankalaev can just like wrestle for 5 rounds. I don't know that, but I know Alex Pereira can win title fights. And even if Alex Pereira does lose, he's going to get an immediate rematch anyway. But yeah, give me Alex to win third round KO. That's the show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back next week to probably talk about this card and maybe talk a little bit about what's coming up in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the fights.